All right, cool. Okay, thank you guys for hopping on today. I'm super excited for everything we're going to talk about, and I think it was super helpful. Did you guys like having kind of a poll this week? I felt like that was kind of cool to like, yeah, because I was like, we don't, yeah, you're new, it's okay, we'll get there, you'll get it. But we basically did a little poll instead of just deciding like, hey, we're going to do invites today, or we're going to do this, or watch this training, or do that. Thought it was a good idea to kind of ask you guys what you needed, and we had some really great feedback. So there are like some specific topics that I'm going to make sure to touch on, but the first one I wanted to start with, and we can do kind of a roundtable, but I don't want anyone to feel like you have to say anything, so it's totally fine if you don't want to say something. But Kate had an idea, and I absolutely loved it. And what's so crazy, you guys, and what's so cool is that as a team, you guys, we get to work through so many different things together, and it's so crazy how the vibe, which it's not going to be the same for everyone, of course, but how like the vibe between like certain members on the team, we can like feel each other's vibe, right? And like, it's funny because when I was talking to Kinsley and Jay this last week, it was like on Wednesday, and I was like, what should the next team call be on? We actually had a guest speaker that was slated to speak this coming Tuesday, and I was like, you know what? I feel like our team specifically, like we need to get back to the heart of this, right? Because we had this huge team-wide push to go elite. We freaking did it. We went elite. We had all these crazy numbers and achieved all these amazing goals, which was so, so cool. But I was like, in this pursuit of, again, like the numbers and elite, I felt like a little bit of our heart like kind of went to the wayside, right? But everything that we do, you guys, as a team and just as a part of even Team Beachbody is all about the heart and the hustle. And when you get uneven on either side of that, right, it can really feel, the balance can really be off, and it really can mess with not only your business, right, but your passion for what you're doing. So I kind of felt that was needed. So this Tuesday, I'm actually doing an entire talk on the heart behind why we do this, honestly, you guys, and I'm going to get really real with you guys and really raw, not just on like, why do I do this? Because a lot of you guys know my story, but on really like understanding why what we do as coaches, even if being a coach for you just means that you're on your own personal journey, right? Why what we do matters, and why this has the immense opportunity, but also like huge responsibility that we carry to help really change the world for the better. So I'm going to be diving into that more on Tuesday, but I wanted to hear from you guys today on maybe your whys. And if you had time to think about that, that's awesome. If you haven't had time, again, and you don't want to talk, that's totally fine. But does anybody want to volunteer of like, what does being a coach mean to you? Or like, why do you show up every day? Like, what makes this worth it, right? Reaching out to people or sharing your journey online, or even being part of the challenge groups. Like, why do you do this? Does anybody want to share? You can unmute yourself, or you can wave, or
I'll share.
Go ahead, girl.
Oh, geez, I just hit my knee though. So originally, like when I did it, it was to get healthier for myself, for my kiddo. You know, I didn't want to be the one at the bottom of the hill while he's exploring the top of the hill by himself. So originally it was for him, but then I got into the business and everything, and then it was to have like a little extra pocket cash for myself, because I usually one to make my own income, and then I've been a stay-at-home mom, so it was a little harder not to have any of that income for myself. So I kind of just wanted that. But then you shared that post yesterday about the gal who put the money away for her kid, and it's just, I want to do it all for him. So he's kind of my motivation for my son and everything. So, I obviously definitely want to help other people, but he's the background, he's the heart of it. So
that's so awesome. No, I love that. And our whys will change like so much. I love how you were like, I showed up and at first it was just for me, like my why has changed probably in 2 years. Like at least 20 times. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not an exaggeration, but I think actually probably 20 times. Just because it's like we morph and we grow as human beings, right? Or we add, you know, we have new experiences in our lives and we're like, wow, that's like another reason now that I'm showing up, or this is the main reason for right now in this season that I'm showing up. But yeah, that's why I shared that post by Brittany Leggett, and I'm going to be sharing, so you guys know, I want to share more of those heart posts in our team page, because it's crazy, because I feel like, right, I've been in this Beachbody coaching sphere for 2 years now. So I'm a part of like a ridiculous number of like groups, and it's actually ridiculous. But so I see like inspirational posts all day long from all of these amazing coaches, and I see how this has changed their lives, and I see their transformation pictures from their challengers, and I see like how this helped one of their single moms just afford like not breast milk, because you don't pay for that, but like, I don't know, formula for the week or whatever. And I'm like inspired all the time, and I tend to forget recently that I'm like, there's coaches who are brand new to this that are joining our team page all the time and are in the same place that I was 2 years ago, which was my newsfeed was full of just depressing stuff. And so I want to make sure that our team page, you guys, is full of inspiration. So if you guys see posts from other coaches, or you're following top coaches or other coaches on our team that are even celebrating like, hey, I got my first $100 paycheck, or I made $50 this week, or whatever it is, like any of that positive stuff, you guys, share that with the team if you're willing. Like, that would help me so much. But it's not just me, you guys, this is our community, right? And our team page is going to be whatever we decide we want to make it, right? And so far it's an amazing spot where like we're welcoming like a ton of new coaches every single week. But I feel like recently I look and I'm like, it's just like welcome graphics and like call graphics
all the time,
which is so cool that we're like growing that fast. But if you guys can like literally think about like, what do we want this community to be? What do we want to be focused on? And share more of what you want to see, right? Share more of the kind of stuff that you want to focus on as a team. And that's just going to help like build the vibe. But anyway, so I'm glad you pointed that out about Brittany's post, because there are like so many amazing stories out there. Yeah. And I'm going to be sharing more of them too. But does anybody else have one? I know a couple people just hopped on, but we're sharing like kind of why we show up. And I was touching on that. I'm going to be talking about the heart behind what we do, not just for me, but as Team Beachbody coaches on Tuesday. But I wanted to ask you guys, and Kate had this idea of like everybody just sharing their personal motivation behind like why you show up now. And it could be different between when you showed up in the future, or like if you want to share either. So unmute yourself if you want. Go, Maddie.
Hello, guys. Good morning.
Hello.
So right now, if you guys don't know, I'm pushing for Diamond. So yesterday, Kinsley gave me an assignment to write out why. So I figured I'd read it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so why was I genuinely love my team and wanted to be part of the reason why we make Elite. So I don't know if you guys know, but Kinsley's pushing for Elite. Mm-hmm. So, and I genuinely really love every single person on this team. Like whoever joins, whoever's showing up today, you guys are all like, you know, have hearts of gold. And I love being part of that. And I love being part of the team. And so like, even if we didn't make money, just showing up to this and building a community is like really amazing. So I love that.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, I know in my gut that this business aligns with my core values and I want to do big things. And I want to tap into my true potential and make massive impact, and Diamond is that next step. And how I will feel like a freaking rock star, number one. I'll feel accomplished, validated, proud, and confident, and just all around stoked. Mm-hmm. And then what I will celebrate with is a massive glass of wine. So right now, part of my push for Diamond is I'm not drinking until I reach Diamond. So, and I really miss wine, you guys. I miss it so much. So, you know, so a massive glass of maybe some red wine, white wine. I don't know, maybe all of them.
All of them mixed together. Just like make like a, you know, like a swamp. What do they call those drinks? No, just
that sounds like a big, huge hangover. So maybe I shouldn't do that. But
yeah, maybe not that. I love that.
And then lastly was, no matter what it takes, I will go Diamond by September 26th, which is Wednesday, y'all, because I can do anything I put my mind and heart to.
Yes.
That was the assignment.
Oh my gosh, I love that. You like almost made me cry at the beginning talking about the community piece, because I feel like that is so, like that, I don't know. Like, I'm so glad that Made for Brave, that as a team, like all of us, no matter if you're with Kinsley's team or our greater team, right? Like, we're all on the Made for Brave team. And like, that was so much of the motivation for pushing for it this year, was like, we deserve to be an elite team, and we deserve to get the extra like tools and trainings. And I can't believe, by the way, for most of you guys who have been on this like Captivate train with IG, even, like, you guys realize that that literally came out of us going elite. Had we not gone elite, I would not have been on that call where we were basically given the tools that all the top teams have apparently had access to, that we had no clue. Like, since June, I'm like, y'all, like, how did we not know about this since June? But like, that's the kind of stuff now that we get to plug into. And yeah, it's crazy, because I think absolutely there is so much to be said for this as a community. And like you said, whether or not we make money. And I think that is like that, when it comes down to it, you guys, the heart of all of this is so crazy, because it's such a like catch-22, where I feel like it's almost impossible to make money in this business if you don't have a heart for people, right? So like, when people come to me and they're like, I want to make money, if that's the first thing, right, before they've done a challenge group, like, it's different if they've done a challenge group and they're like, this freaking rocked my world, how do you get paid to do this, because like it was amazing and I do it for free, then I'm like, boom, you're gonna be an awesome coach. But when I have people who come in and they're like, hey, I need to make an extra $1,000 a month or a week or whatever, how do I do it? And I'm like, sign up for a challenge group and like rock the challenge group. But like, it doesn't, if your heart's not in it, like, and not in it in the right place, like, it's crazy how hard it can be. But then it's incredible how, if your heart is in it for the community and for like loving on people, like almost no matter how long it takes too, it's like you realize that like, even if you're impacting one life a month, whereas you expected to be impacting 100 lives a month, it's like that one life is so worth it when you get that one person saying like, thank you for believing in me this month, like that changed my life, or like this crazy bad thing happened in my life, but this was like my one positive. Like, that stuff gives me chills. So anyway, awesome.
Yeah, I just feel like if it wasn't for the community here, just as coaches, I wouldn't do this. There's no way I could do this as a single effort, you know? Like, it's way too hard, but when we're rallying around each other and lifting each other up, like, that's what makes it so much more fun and amazing. And like, those group wins are just so much more better, you know, as the group.
Totally. No, I totally agree. That is so, so true. And yeah, it's awesome to think too that we get to build, like, it's crazy how, I don't know, it's crazy how this has like morphed to like what it is today. Cause like being able to have these kind of discussions with you guys and just like pop in is so amazing, because this is exactly, you know, the kind of community that when I joined Keisha's team, I was like, how awesome would it be if like we had our own like little community of people? And it's like, we're being able to do this and like our Made for Brave, just kind of brave style, right? And like be about, again, what we want to be about. And that goes back to making the team page what we want it to be. But like, it's pretty cool, because I think I'm totally down with being all about heart, y'all, because that's like really the base of all of this and the whole reason why I ever even started in the first place. So yes, I love it. Does anybody else have a why they want to share? Or shall we move on? Okay. Okay. If you think of a why, feel free to interrupt, because it wouldn't be interrupting, but you know, feel free to let me know. But so one thing, there's like some logistical questions that we were going to go over. But before we dive into that, I wanted to touch on, so one of the things that Kate brought up, which I know she said she's traveling today. We have a lot of people, like Kinsley's out camping in the middle of the woods. She was trying to log in. She texted me this morning. She's like, there is like literally no service. This is not working. It's taking like 30 minutes to like upload Zoom. And I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine. But at least for the recording, they'll have this. But I wanted to remind you guys of something that like, I feel like has been, it's been something that I have to remind myself of often. And that is that our businesses, you guys, should never, ever run us. And you have to remember that. If you're experiencing burnout, or you're feeling exhausted, or you're feeling like you're not sure why you're showing up every day anymore, right? Or you're feeling like this is taking something out of you, then you need to take a step back and like, not necessarily physically, but right, like mindset wise, you need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and look at why you're showing up, but also look at how you can make this business work for you. This business should not be working you. You should be working it, right? It shouldn't be running you, and you should be running it. And so finding the ways for this to fit into your life, you guys, that is so key. And for us, like, to give you guys an example, there will obviously be seasons where you are pushing in this business for certain things, and where you're going to be making sacrifices like wine for Maddie, or like whatever it is for you, right? But there are going to be seasons like that, but you have to remember that those are just seasons. And I know even for us, again, we're coming out of this push this summer where we were like balls to the wall, like psycho people, like bringing on crazy amounts of people. And it was so, so amazing, you guys. But it's like at the end of that push, I had to look at myself and be like, this isn't sustainable. Obviously, I was staying up. You guys know, like I was staying up all hours of the night. I was like working like 1 million hours a day. It felt like it was just crazy. And I was like, I have to make sure that I go back to working this business so that it works for my family and that it works for us. And Lauren and I talked about this, and a couple of others of us have talked about this in the thread on the Brave Builders page. We were talking about schedules and kind of like what we figured out works. For me, blocking out specific chunks of time during my day is so helpful, because you guys, if I live and I turn all my notifications off on my phone and I put it on do not disturb, it also, my phone like shuts itself off basically at 8 p.m. It does not turn itself back on until 9 a.m., which is normally when I'm done with my workouts and when Austin is already left for school. But it's like if I am constantly picking up my phone every time a notification pops up, you guys know, if you're a part of a challenge group, part of the team page, part of this builders page, and like, you know, all these different things, you're going to get notifications all day long. And that, while it's very exciting at first, eventually can lead to some intense burnout, because you feel like you're always working, even if it's the fact that your brain is literally just shifting to Beachbody for like 15 seconds while you read that notification and then you're putting your phone down. That's going to get the wheels turning, right? And that is going to kind of mess up your focus. So I want us all as a team to just make sure that we're constantly, and I'll try to remind us all of this as well, and especially when it comes up in my life, I'll try to remind you guys, but like keeping in mind, and we can like all remind each other too, right? That if you're feeling passionless, right? Or you're feeling like this isn't working for you, so often, you guys, it's actually something, it's not actually Beachbody's fault, right? Or it's not actually this opportunity's fault. It's our missteps in how we're managing the overwhelm, right? Or how we're managing the information. So make sure that you're making a conscientious effort to make sure that you enjoy the way your business is working for you. Like another just random tip, if you're ever, or when you're running your own challenge groups, right? Making sure that you're only checking in. Like this is another thing that I do. I only check in twice a day. Even for the team pages, you guys, I try to check in twice a day. You might notice that I don't always welcome coaches. Like the second their picture is posted, that is nothing except for the fact that I need to keep my sanity. And so I try to check the page for new coach welcomes in the morning and in the evening, like one time. And I do that, you guys, so that again, my brain is so focused, you guys, when at the end of the day, I know, okay, I have 20 minutes and I'm going to check in with my challengers. And I don't go to any other Facebook pages. I don't click on any other notifications or chat boxes, but I just go to that group and I comment on everything I need to comment on, right? Like, or if I'm like, I have 22 minutes, I'm going to attack. I've been using this like 11 minute, 22 minutes, or 44-minute blocks. For whatever reason, it's been working. But like doing these different blocks of time where it's like I have this much time to respond to messages, and I'm going to respond to the most important ones first, and then the next important, and then the next important, and I might not get to some of them today or during that block of time, right? But that's okay. So just a side note to keep that in mind. So the other thing we wanted to talk about though today, so one thing was Haley had a good question on like creating content and adding value, and kind of how do you fit it in on days you don't feel like it? And Haley, I loved that this question came from you because I was like, I would have asked you this question because I feel like you're so good at content. So I'm like, wait, how are you? No, but it's so funny because I feel like people, I feel like very often I don't even want to say people, I say all of us, we will have days, right, where we aren't feeling it. So that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the business running us versus us running the business. And I had a call with Julie Voris, who's she's actually been an elite coach for like 10 years or 9 years, but she's been a coach for 10 years. So since like Beachbody coaching started, which was 10 years ago. And she was talking about how if you feel like you don't have passion for this business. So she was talking about the fact that like basically there's no better job out there. Like in reality, if you think about it, like what we actually do that counts as a job is insane because we get to talk to people, we get to play online, we get to like make Facebook posts. You guys, this is stuff that everybody does anyway and they don't get paid for it, right? And then we get to encourage people and we get to get fit and just share our journey. Like it's very, if you like the simplicity of that part of it, right, is so much fun. So she was talking about, she's like, I have people that come to me and say like, I've lost motivation. How are you still motivated after 10 years? And she's like, every time that's happened, I've realized that it's not anything to do with like what, like as a team, like what Beachbody's doing or like their products or something wrong with the business. Anytime she's lost motivation, she's like, it's because I've lost motivation or passion for my own life outside of Beachbody. And I thought this was such a good point. And I shared it actually in our Diamonds page, that whole call, which I think it's a little too much for everybody because it was like over an hour. But to give you guys like a basic understanding, like making sure that you have stuff in your life that you're passionate about aside from Beachbody, which I feel like I don't need to preach that to our team necessarily because we all have lives outside of Beachbody, which is so awesome. But make sure that you are feeding into that. Like if you ever feel like you're overwhelmed or like just kind of like grossed out by what you're doing or like feeling like you've been on the computer all day or anything like that, instead of being like, no, I need to buckle down and I'm going to sit on the computer for the next 5 hours until this is done. Like that is going to make everything 500 times worse, right? So whenever you're feeling uninspired, and this is what I do for content, I actually have days often where I feel uninspired for content. But it's always during seasons when I'm feeling uninspired in my life. Right? So like, even just the last 2 weeks, I've made a huge mindset shift because I was feeling some burnout after our push. And I was like, I'm making the mindset shift of like going back to the heart of this, like why I love this, why I show up every day. And when I'm motivated outside of Beachbody is when I find I have inspiration for posts too. So like if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm like, I'm going to go take a walk because walking makes me happy. Or I'm going to go to Starbucks and I'm going to get an Americano because Americanos make me happy. Or I'm going to, drink unicorn crack and do a dance party in my living room instead of, an extra work. Because working out for me, you guys know, I will stick to my program. I will do the bare minimum of what the workout is. And I will try my best. I will try my best during that half-hour long or hour-long workout. But once that workout's done, like, I'm not the kind, some people are like, I'll just do an extra workout and it makes me excited. Like, that's not really for me. But I will totally dance party and, like, that makes me happy. Or I'll go to Target and peruse the dollar section for, like, an hour and drive Jay insane because he's like, how can you spend an hour in the dollar section? There's not that much to look at. And I'm like, it's everything. So, like, whatever floats your boat, right? Do something that makes you excited about life. And the other thing that I've gotten back into, which again is like realizing these things, is like part of what drew me to Beachbody at the beginning, you guys, was the fact that I was like, if I start doing this and making residual income, totally stickers. I have stickers, you guys, everywhere. It makes me so happy. So whatever it is though, find those things and like really lean into that. And at the beginning of Beachbody, I was like, this could be really cool because this is like an opportunity for residual income. Before I was trading like hours for dollars. And I was like, this is something where I can get paid even when I'm like sleeping, when I'm like not doing anything. Like this is incredible. And I knew that this could be the opportunity to write my book, right? And you guys know that I ended up writing my manuscript in 3 months last year. And then at the end of the year, I found an editor. I started talking to publishers, and then my baby came. I was super pregnant that whole time. So then Emery was born. And then my book kind of got pushed to the back burner. We started pushing for Elite. So it was like baby and business was like all I had time for, right? But this last like week, I told myself, I'm like, again, blocking those hours out, right? I was like, this is book time. And I blocked out like 3-hour long chunks, multiple 3-hour long chunks of where I'm like, I'm going to Starbucks, I'm working on my business. I'm putting in my headphones, I'm putting my phone on do not disturb, and I'm not doing anything else but my book. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says, unless there's an emergency, this is what I'm doing, right? And I mean like blood spurting emergency, not like a business emergency. So I was like, I'm out. But you guys, that gave me so much more passion back again. So just, if you're feeling like you don't have content, like number one, my biggest advice is don't force it. I personally think it's better not to post on one day, but I suggest not going more than one day, because then it becomes that fear thing. And then you're like, oh, I haven't posted in 4 days, so it has to be a really good one. What do I post? Like, instead of that, but skipping one day is totally fine. Or like, I'll have it on my calendar to post in the morning, you guys. Often I don't post until like 6 o'clock, because I'm like, I don't really know what to post right now. I don't feel inspired about anything. So wait until you feel inspired, right? Also keep a store, which I know we've kind of talked about this, but keep a store or like a backlog of post ideas. So like when you come across even a quote, like again, we'll go back to Target. Yeah. Cause Rose is mentioning it. You know, we all love Target. You're walking around Target and you see like the cutest sign with this really nice quote. And you're like, oh, that quote really resonates with me. Write the quote down on your phone. And then later when you're at home, you can write a post, right? Or the next day when you're like, what do I post about? You can put that quote. And this is one of my favorite tricks, is you can actually write the quote at the beginning in quotations, right? Of course. And then just write what it means to you. Write 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, and then post a picture with it. And then there's your content for the day. Like, it's perfect. And then that's another way. I think I've mentioned this before on content calls, but like you can go to Pinterest, and if you're like, I haven't posted a picture of like my boyfriend in 12 years and people probably think I'm single, so I should probably post a picture of him, but I don't know what to say. Go to Pinterest and search relationship quotes. Find a quote that's about relationships, put it at the top of your post, type a few paragraphs, how it applies to you and your boyfriend, picture your boyfriend, picture of you, boom, and there's your post. So like as many tricks as you can use like are totally fine, right? But just make sure that it speaks to you, but then also don't put too much pressure on yourself, because I know that can happen too. And Haley, I almost have to wonder if that's part of it, because we've been telling you like your Instagram is incredible. So if you're feeling like nervous, like don't be nervous. We won't judge you if you have a post that's like, I don't know what. But I feel like your Instagram's like so on point. But I won't say that anymore if it's too pressury. Just kidding. No. Okay, so sorry, I'm gonna read the next one. You guys too, unmute yourselves if you want to add something, or you like, I don't know. Anything. Okay. I know we had another question. Oh, on objections. And okay, so a few questions were on objections and like, how do you handle time objections? How do you handle price objections? And then also like, when do you know to stop like trying to convince them versus, right? Like all of these kind of things. So, two sides of this coin, right? So you guys, I don't know if you know this, but if you go into the files tab of Brave Builders, let me check as I'm saying it to make sure. Yep. So there is a file called Objections in all caps. My mouse just stopped working. Come back. So there's a file called Objections. Okay. I can't see you guys, but I know you're there. Come back. There we go. Okay. So there's a file called Objections. And if you go in there, I actually list off multiple ways that different coaches across our greater team handle objections of all different kinds. So like Shakeology objections, price objections, time objections, like every single one you could think of. And here's the thing for me. So I can tell you guys, I don't have a specific formula for how many times like I'll go back and forth with somebody. I very much so read the conversation. Very often what I've found though is a lot of people, when they use objections, honestly, it's a good thing and it means they're interested. So the people that join if I'm like, hey, do you want to join our Fit Tribe? Or I never say that. Every time I say that, I'm like, why did I say that? I always say, do you want more information about our Fit Tribe? That's my invite, okay? Right, so would you like more information about what we do? And if they say yes, right, I'm asking them for some more details on like their goals and things like that. If their goal is vague, and then I send them the info, and they're like, that sounds awesome. And then I send them the price, and they're like, cool, sure, I'll sign up. Send me the link. And I send them the link, and they give me no objections, you guys. Those are the challengers I have that show up sort of for 3 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. They totally half booty it. And then all of a sudden, they're like at the end of it, and they're like, yeah, that was okay, like, meh. And or they ghost and they like never respond again. And you're like, what happened, right? The people though that show up with massive objections, you guys, those are the people who are really thinking about it. Those are the people who are like, this money matters to me, and I need to make sure I'm spending it on something that matters, right? Those are the people who are actually looking for a solution. And I try to think back to when I started. When I signed up with my coach as a challenger, well, I actually signed up as a discount coach, but like when I signed up, I was full of objections. And my first one was time, because I was a single mom. And Jackie, my coach, basically told me, like, this is literally designed for busy people. I know for a fact you can do this. It's 30 minutes a day. Like, you can't tell me you don't have 30 minutes a day. How many hours do you spend a day watching TV? And I was like, well, at least 2. And she was like, okay, like, you have time to do this. Even if, and I was like, but my 2 hours are after Austin's in bed and all this stuff. She's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have time to do this. And I'm like, okay, like, touche. But I don't have any money. I'm a single mom. So sorry, can't do it. And she was like, wait a minute. Like, do you spend money on breakfast? Well, yes. Do you go to Starbucks? Yes. How many times a week? 5, 7, 12 times? I don't know. And then she's like, okay, like, let's add this up really quick, right? There's so many, you guys, there's so many different things that people spend money on. So many people, and I know this isn't every person, but in a lot of cases, people will go to Target and they'll drop $100 very easily on random graphic tees. This is from Target. I'm going to brunch, remember? Avocado toast. I think I'm actually going to order it too. Be really weird. But they have it on the menu. So anyway, so then, like, there's all these different things that people can go to Target and spend money on, and they don't think twice about it, right? But when it comes to our health, it's very easy for us to be stingy on it, and it kind of cracks me up. But just because I think it's not a material thing, and it's not like, it doesn't crack me up like I'm laughing at other people, I'm laughing at myself too, because I used to be this way as well. Like, I literally was convinced in my head that I wasn't going to be able to afford this, where when, again, Jackie like fixed that for me with the Starbucks reference. But if she had even asked me about Target, it's kind of crazy, because I'm like, I felt like very strapped for money at the time. And when I look back, I'm like, I was buying like at least 3 new items of clothing at Target a month. So that was like $16 to $20. So that's like, you know, $60-ish a month on clothes. Not to mention, I would buy like random candles for the apartment, or I would buy like a new throw pillow. And then I was like, I need that sign. And then there was like, again, that dollar section will really get you, because it's like $5 now and it's not even called the dollar section. So I was like buying all these $5 things, and they all added up, like all this stuff, right? So I think the biggest thing is not being afraid to call people out. But again, this is only if it's your style. And this kind of touches on a little bit, Kara commented earlier this morning about like, what if you're feeling like schmoozy? If you're feeling schmoozy or salesy or gross, then don't freaking say whatever it is you're saying. If that's not your style, to ask somebody, hey, how many times do you go to Starbucks? Which again, I knew Jackie, she was my friend too, right? But if that's not your style and you would feel gross saying that to somebody, then don't say it. But if it's something you would say to your best friend, that's kind of how I think about it. With my friends, I'm pretty blunt and I'm pretty honest, where if they came up to me and they were like, hey, I really want to go on this trip, it's going to cost me $160 and I don't feel like I have the money, I would be like, okay, hold on, like, let's sit down and talk about it. Because if you really want to go on this trip, you can find $160. Like, let's talk about it. Same goes for this, right? If somebody comes to me and they say, I really want to join your Fit Tribe, but I don't have the money, I'm like, girl, let's sit down and talk about it. If you want to make this happen, you have the money. And the people that keep coming back to these price objections, most of the time it's because they don't really want to do it. And that's totally fine. So often they come back around later, right? But if they're just full of like, no, I don't have the money. And sometimes, like, again, this isn't everybody. Sometimes people, I understand, really don't have the money, and that's a different case entirely. But for a lot of people, it's just an excuse, and they're not ready, or they're scared, or, you know, they're afraid of failure and they don't even want to admit it. They don't even know it. That's totally okay. And you can just love on people where they're at. And I think in terms of knowing when to stop, if you ever feel like you're trying to convince somebody. So I remember when it was right around when I first started, and I remember telling Jackie, hey, I'm talking to all these people and I cannot convince anyone to sign up. And she's like, 2 words you're using there that alert me to the fact that your heart is not in the right place. You're not convincing you shouldn't be convincing anyone to sign up, number 1. Number 2, it's not really signing up, right? As much as, which again, we use that lingo and I know we do, but it's less so about like them signing up and them feeling confident enough to trust in you and trust in themselves and trust in a community of people they have never ever met to help take them on a journey that they have either always wanted to go on or have always been too scared to go on. This is like a big deal, right? Health is a big deal for people. And a lot of us, we hold it very close to our heart, but we don't really want to admit it. We don't want to admit that we're scared of getting heart disease, or that we're scared of getting cancer, or that we're scared of, having a hard time playing with our kids once we have them, or, being an active grandparent or whatever it is. We don't want to admit those things, especially when we feel like we don't have the answer, and doubly when we feel like we've been duped before. And that is the case for most people coming into our challenge groups. They feel like they've been duped before. And I get that because I was kind of in that place too. I had been sold 1,012,000 supplements and things that were supposed to make me feel better that never made me feel better. I was battling an autoimmune disease, and I was like, I don't have time and I don't have money. Really what I was saying is I don't have time and money for something that's not going to work for me again, and to be disappointed in myself and disappointed in the process and disappointed in the world and the fact that people are sick all the time and there's nothing we can freaking do about it. That's what I felt like, right? So I think reading the conversation is very important when it comes to knowing when to stop, and just leaning in. And this is something that I know I could even get better on, which, I mean, there's lots of things I can get better on, but one of them is asking more questions than you answer. So if they have a money objection or a time objection, ask them about it. Be like, oh my gosh, girl, like you can level with them, right? I totally get it. Like, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Because again, picture sitting down with your friend, like you're sitting with your friend across from them having coffee, and they're like, I have no time to do the things I really want to do. You would be like, girl, what are you doing? Like, tell me about your life. Like, what have you been up to? Like, why don't you have time, right? So like making sure you have those conversations, I think, is important. But again, that's if you're that kind of person. I'm a chatty person. If somebody tells me that, that's what I'm going to ask. But so in every situation, whether we're talking about objections or talking about invites, I'm kind of just morphing over into Kara's question. But if you're ever feeling gross, then you need to do something different and you're doing it wrong. And here's the thing about this, you guys, about coaching. The longer I've done this, the more ways I've seen to do this. There are coaches that send cold invites all day, every day, and that's all they do. And they're in the top 10. Okay. And then there's coaches in the top 10 who foster relationships and have had relationships with people for years and years online before they sign them up. And then there are coaches who, I don't even know, like there's a million and one different ways to do it. And I'm not going to say that any one way is right? Or any one way is wrong. What I've come to find out, right? We are a part of Team Fit Foundation. That was the team that I was trained in. They are very much so, hey girl, and then invite. Hey girling is starting a conversation, starting a relationship, chatting over the course of however long of a period of time, and then inviting them to join your challenge group. I definitely vibed with that at the beginning, But I'm also finding now that for me personally, if I have somebody who I've seen their name or their like pop up like 6 or 7 times and they comment occasionally, I am not afraid to go out and quote unquote cold invite them. I thank them for their follow. I thank them. I'm just like, girl, you have been loving on my page and it's been so incredible to like see your face pop up all the time. I wanted to thank you for my love and support. Were you wanting more information on my Fit Tribes? And it's not like a weird, in my opinion, it's not a weird thing because I feel like I'm very open, especially if they're watching my stories. They know what I do for a living. They know that I'm a coach. They know that I run these fitness groups. And I don't think it's rude to ask them if they want more information. Because to me, my stories acted kind of like a hey girl, right? That's that relationship. I run into people, you guys, at the grocery store. This is actually awkward. At Starbucks the other day, this girl walked up to me and she's like, I watch your stories every day. I feel like I know you. And I was like, oh my gosh. But like, I even talked to her about the challenge groups and she was like, I didn't even know if like everybody could do it. And I'm like, this is my point. I need to remember to invite people. People don't know that they can join us. I'm going to touch on the party analogy one more time because I think it was so good. If you are posting on Facebook and you're like, this is really easy because my birthday's tomorrow. So let's say on Facebook, I was like, hey, you guys, like I'm having the most amazing party tomorrow. I'm celebrating my 31st birthday and we're going to have like pineapple skewers and we're going to have a pool party and it's going to be amazing. And all my best friends are going to be there. And you guys, we are going to have the best time ever. It starts tomorrow. And I didn't say when, like the time of day, and I didn't tell them where to go, but I just said all of this stuff. How many people are going to have the balls to comment on that post or private message me and be like, hey, your party sounds really cool and your friends sound really nice. Can I come to your party? Nobody. Like nobody's going to post that because it's intimidating, right? Like they would assume that if I wanted them at my party that's going to be so awesome, that I would have reached out and asked them to come to my party, right? So you want to think about that when you are sending invites. Like this is literally telling people that they're invited, and whether or not they say yes, it doesn't matter. It's not a bad thing if they're like, no, I'm busy. I don't want to come. I have a different party to go to, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But we have to be the brave one that goes out and invites people, because if we don't invite people to it, you guys, it looks the same. People are living lives right now that are sometimes, not everybody is going to need the same solutions that we need, right? But a lot of people are living in the place that we were living before. The place that I was living was trying to go to the gym and feeling like an absolute failure every time I went because I wasn't really getting anything done. And then I would leave and feel like crap and feel like, why did I put my kid in childcare for 2 hours to get no results? And then I'd wake up the next morning and be like, I don't even know why I'm paying for the gym. And then like have this horrible cycle of like, but I need to go to the gym, but I should go, maybe I should go more, like all this horrible stuff. And you guys, had I not intentionally seen somebody like post, which Jackie's post was a call to action and I reached out to her first, but when she did her call to action, it was so real and so raw of like, if you have lost your energy and you are looking for something, if you are looking for a change, let's just talk about the details. Let's just see if this is something that might work for you, right? I am a ridiculously brave person. I have been through way too much crap, and it's not brave as in I'm not scared. I get scared out of my mind, but then I just do it anyway. But like this, I've been through a ton of crap. That's why I was brave enough, right, to reach out to her and ask. Most people are not that way, and that's not a detriment to them at all. But you guys, it's definitely should be a determining factor in whether or not you are sending invites, because the kind of people that really need this more often than not are not going to be messaging you and asking you if they can come to your party. They are going to be waiting for an invite, and they are going to be waiting for you to reach out. So to answer Kara's question, when she does listen to this, if you're feeling silly or you're feeling gross, then you're doing it wrong. Don't do it the way that you're doing it, and go back to what feels good for you, because it's going to be different for everybody. But just keep in mind too, always, whenever we're sending invites, whenever we're talking to people, how would you want to be invited? right? What worked for you? When your coach reached out to you, did you feel like she was just hustling you to make money? Or did you feel like she really cared about you and wanted you in this tribe to see what it could do for you, right? And if you got the vibe from her, which if you're on this team, I would absolutely hope that you got the vibe that this person absolutely cared about you and wanted you to see what you were capable of. If that's the vibe you got, that is for sure the vibe that you're going to be giving off when you reach out to people, unless your brain is overthinking it and making it about something that it's not, right? So, yeah, I think that's that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah. Can I just say, I think for me, I kind of struggle with that, like how to invite and how I would respond, because I was part of Kinsley's first group,
right.
And she put it on Facebook, like, hey, does anyone want to join? And so I obviously knew she was doing something that was outside of her teaching, and I just wanted to support her. Like, that was my whole intent. Yeah. I mean, of course I wanted to get healthy too. So I was like, okay, this, like, it's good for me, good for her, it all works out. So, like, with inviting, it's a little bit difficult because I reached out to her. I was like, yo, let me, like, support you. Like, let's do this. Mm-hmm. So it's, like, a little bit difficult because I'm like, I don't know how I would respond if someone came to me with this. I'd be like, okay, weirdo, So it's like,
let me ask a question, because I have a thought on that, because I was in the same spot. So remember, like I said, I reached out to Jackie when she did like a call to action post, like similar thing. And when I first started coaching, I had the same thing where I was like, I don't really want to reach out to people. Like, I'll wait for people to come to me. It's going to be okay, whatever. And what changed it for me was hearing somebody else say, I wouldn't have joined unless I was invited. So I have a question. Is anybody on this call that wouldn't have joined unless you were invited? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, 4 people, Maddie. So there's 3 of us here who asked our coaches to join, right? But 4 of the people here, which, oh my gosh, like, look, like, now I'm getting chills because I'm thinking about this, thinking about how any of your guys' lives has changed, but even specifically like Kim, because Kim, I invited you. But thinking about specifically how this has changed their lives, and like, maybe it's diving into more of that understanding, right? Like, maybe even Haley, or if any of you want to talk about like what this has done for you, or how this has changed either your relationships or your life or your anything. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, is thinking about the fact that, like, our team, you guys, probably over half, I feel like this was even a good representation. I would bet that like 70% of the people on the Make for Brave team were invited, which is crazy. But like, if we all were scared to invite, right, our team would not have impacted as many lives as it has, right? We wouldn't have, like, I wouldn't have a board full of freaking thank you notes over there and a box. You guys, I'm really bad. I have a box of them too, but if they don't match the colors in my office, I don't hang it on the board. I'm so weird like that. I like match my tissue boxes, like everything else. But anyway, but like those kind of things. So I think at the beginning, it's borrowing belief, Maddie, for sure. Like, at the beginning, I didn't have people that I had invited that this had changed their lives, because like at the beginning, I had like, 6 people come to me and I signed them up and I was like, great, it changed their lives, but they wanted to change. They came and asked me for it. But once I started inviting people and reaching out, and then I had those people say, oh my gosh, like, I'm so glad you invited me because I lost, 25 pounds, or because like my relationship with my husband is that much better, or because I finally made, enough extra money to actually put money toward my student loans that have been hanging over my head for this many years that I couldn't figure out how in the world I would ever like put extra money towards. Like, I think those are the kind of things. And I think that will grow for you guys, all of you guys, the more you invite, right? And it can take a while, but like, you almost have to put faith in the process, but also like realize that you all will get your first person. And I don't care if it takes you a month or it takes you 12 months right? You'll get your first person that says yes to an invite, that joins a challenge group because you invited them, and then have this completely change their life in 1 or 12 ways, right? And however that happens, like once you actually get that message, I think that's when the switch kind of flips. And that happened to me even with my sister, you guys, which I have to tell you guys that Kinsley was I was so scared to invite her that I bawled my eyeballs out. I literally sat on her bed and was crying. Like, it's going to make me cry now because I was so nervous that she was going to think that I was like trying to sell her or hustle her or like something. And I just knew that these shakes could make a difference in her life. And I knew that she would love the community if she chose to lean into it. And I was so nervous, you guys, because my little sister is really cool. She taught me how to like do makeup and like get dressed and stuff. She's still teaching me. So like, I really look up to her, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to pan out. And now it's like the fact that she's been able to leave her job is insane. The fact that she's paying off her loans, that she's been doing this for 18 months. And I mean, I get to brag on her because she's not even here right now, but like, you guys, like how much she has changed as a human being. And people are like, oh, she's always been inspiring. Yeah, I mean, on the outside, but you guys don't know the like behind closed doors conversations that her and I used to have, and the way that she has shifted because of personal development, you guys. Not saying that she was like in a not saying anything bad about her, but just seeing how much both of us have grown. It like blows my mind. And when I think about it that way, that's what makes me not even give up on, like, say, my little brother, who I've been inviting for 2 years, who still has yet to try the shakes. Okay, who's still drinking Slim Fast every day. But like, it's like, these are the kinds of conversations though that I'm like, I'm not giving up on my brother because this could do the same thing for him, right? And I'm not giving up on the people that I haven't invited yet, or the people that I've invited that I know that this can change their life, but it's taking them a couple times. I'm not going to give up on them either. And you guys know too that the first time I invited, you guys know that I had to invite Kinsley twice. I invited her once. She signed up as a coach. She was a coach for 3 months, and then she quit. And then she was gone for 5 months. And then I invited her again. And the second time was the bawling on her bedtime. The time when I was like, you didn't really try last time. I need you to try. I need you to drink it every day for 30 days. I need you to actually show up in the challenge groups. I need you to actually do this to see what is possible. And I didn't even know the business side of it was going to even be a thing. It was more so that her health was declining and it was not looking good. So like, I think, Maddie, if that helps to like borrow belief, or even think about like those other stories, or even think about Kinsley, right? And Kinsley, think about Haley, like the fact that Haley wouldn't be here, and like what an incredible relationship all of you core girls have. And like all of like our entire team, like all of us here in this call and that are listening to the recording, like are building community. And oh my gosh, like Summit last year, you guys, if you don't have tickets for Summit in 2019, absolutely 100% grab them, because like that kind of stuff is life changing. And like how close our team got at Summit last year, and like that we're yet to get even closer, right, as these events roll out every year. Like those are the kind of things where when we go to those things and I realize how many people wouldn't have been there if we weren't inviting, that just inspires me to invite more, you know? So I think come from that place. Always remember the gift that this has been to you as well, and think about it that way of like, what has this brought to you? And like, are we going to let our like fear of what somebody might think of us, which I have to tell you guys, that was my biggest fear when I started coaching, is like, what are people going to think about me? And it's so insane in hindsight, realizing that nobody cared. Like nobody. I had, maybe when I first started coaching, there might have been some people in my inner circle that talked about me behind my back. I'm still not really positive. There might have been though. There probably was, right? Because that's what happens when you start something that's out of the box. That's what happens when you start something that maybe is in an industry that did not have a good rap, you know, in the past, or is associated with an industry that is not our industry. And, you know, because like people talk about pyramid schemes, you guys, what we do now is not even anything like a pyramid scheme, and pyramid schemes are completely illegal. And my grandma was involved in one way back when, and that was some shady business. This is not shady stuff, you guys. So when you're able to kind of to really come to grips with the fact of how this is changing lives, and that we're not selling things that don't change lives. Like, we're not peddling whiteout. I always look for stuff that like is not a business. So this isn't a business, right? I hope nobody like peddles whiteout. But like whatever you think about, like you have to think about the fact that this really is changing lives. And if we look at even just our own stories, and you look at yourself and you're like, whatever this has been for you, which maybe it's not a lot of weight loss, maybe it's just the fact that this is a community of people that you can talk to now, or this is a community of people you can relate to, or that you finally feel like if somebody was chasing you down a dark alley, you could actually kind of run away. Whereas before, maybe you would have just like, like played dead. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. That is literally all I got. But does anybody have anything last minute or anything you want clarification on? I know we're pushing an hour, so I want to be respectful, but I think we hit all of the questions. Yeah, Rose, go ahead. Oh wait, I'll unmute you. There you go.
So I was kind of gonna share my why and different things about that without word vomiting too much. And so my why's definitely changed since I first started, and I've said my why a bunch of different times. But it's definitely to be a lot more present with my family and be able to be more financially stable is kind of like a blanket statement of my why. But also, like when I first started, I was very insecure. I didn't feel like I really had a place anywhere or had any kind of like, this is my thing, this is what I'm passionate about, and even like actual hobbies. And you don't even really look at that until people even ask you what your hobbies are, and you realize that you're a boring blah person. And so I just feel like my growth in this has changed and just been so crazy, because now I feel like I actually have a place and I actually have something that I can be passionate about and share with others. And I've realized over time, like, how influential that even in my mind, like, small journey has been for different people, and that getting thank yous and getting people's like stories of their own personal growth, and that they're able to apply this to their own lives, and just the fact that they're feeling healthier, their relationships are getting better, they see this change in themselves, either it's weight loss or feeling more confident, or like a friend of mine who joined, she's in our Lift 4 group, and she said that she is quitting smoking because of this, and that it's helping with her it's the autoimmune disease, I believe. So it's helping with that, which is just so crazy to me, because she's somebody that I invited just more of as like just kind of just a random invite, and I didn't think she would even be interested. And now she's quitting smoking, and it's helping with her medical issues, and it's helping because she's really like a super homebody, and now she's feeling more confident in so many different aspects of her life.
That's
And
so
so
awesome.
yeah, and I know when I first started, I definitely told Lisa that like I couldn't afford it, that I like fought her so much on joining. And it's weird that I acted like that, because like of how much it's changed my life now, and I wish that I had known, which obviously I wouldn't have known really how it could change my life. But just I'm so glad that I didn't pass this up, because I almost did at several points. It's just like, no, Lisa, go away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody to pressure me to change, because change is bad.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's kind of the same as what Elisa was saying, like, couldn't afford it, but yet I was spending money on food or on clothes or on like decor and stuff, and it was just random things, but I couldn't afford to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And once you actually like look at those different things and you're like, I actually can afford what I put my like priorities for. Like you can do what your priorities are.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't really realize that. And then they just think like I can't do what I want, and they have to do what they have to do. But once I realized that this was something that I really wanted to go for, it makes the price a lot easier too. And you're actually just doing this to help yourself. And then that's when the money comes in. And it's crazy that, and I know everybody says it's crazy that we get paid to do this, but it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like, I get to work on my health and fitness, which I was going to the gym before, which felt hopeless. So I was going to the gym before, and now I'm able to work from home. So I save so much, work out and work from home, which saves so much time, and work on myself and work on my personal development and everything overall. And like as a whole, my entire life and myself have changed. Like I was so insecure and felt so out of place in everything, and was like such a shy person, which people act surprised by that. Like I feel like I'm like a very shy person, and apparently other people think that I'm like this crazy confident person, because I'm definitely not. And so, well, at least wasn't, and I feel a lot more like confident in myself and brave and actually happy and able to express myself, and without like this constant cloud of fear. Like, what are people going to think about me?
Mm-hmm.
What are people going to say about me? And when it, like, people probably don't even care. They don't really, like, they kind of care a little bit, but they don't really care as much as you think that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, like Rachel Hollis says, like, people's opinion of you isn't your business.
Mm-hmm.
And what they think and what they say shouldn't really have this impact on you, which really did in the past. And now it's kind of like, if they don't like me, I like me. And that's what's important. And I've grown to like realize that and be okay with that. And so my why's definitely changed over time, but it's definitely working on myself and being a better overall person, and actually being able to like just be happy with my own self. And growing this and showing up every day has really given my life like this whole sense of purpose and fulfillment. And so that's my why's kind of changed to that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my current update.
No, I love that. And what you said of like, if they don't like me, that's okay. I like me. That is like that almost like made me cry. But it's funny. Austin has like a kid's book that's called I Like Me. And it's like the most basic book you could ever read. But every time I read it, I'm like, this is what we need to like teach our kids. And this is what I feel like so much of our generation is missing, is everyone's looking for this outside validation. And really, what we're looking for without even knowing it is that we're looking for ourselves to like ourselves and to validate ourselves, right? You just want to do something that you believe in and that you feel like you're making a difference and that you feel happy about, right? And whatever that thing is, and like when we're also at the same time, we get to improve the lives of other people and help them start on their journey. That's what I love about this, is that as coaches, we've never arrived. And that can be scary sometimes, because I'm like, am I ever going to feel like, I've asked this now in these bigger groups, am I ever going to feel like I'm worthy of this? Am I ever going to feel like people should be asking me these questions that they ask me? And like, I know that I have it all together. And you guys, the top coaches are like, well, there's a few that maybe, I don't know them, but most of the top coaches that I relate to are like, you know what, actually, no, like you can do this for 10 years and you're still going to be on a journey, because we're always doing PD, you guys. We're always discovering new ways and new things we can fix about ourselves. And on the one hand, that's kind of a scary life to live, right? Because it's really easy in this day and age, in this culture, to just do what's comfortable, right? And just go to your job, come home, watch TV, drink a beer or wine, whatever, go to bed, and that's like your life, right? And you can do that day in and day out for the next 40 years if you want to. But for me, I would much rather choose the uncomfortable part of like trying to figure out how to be a better person over the course of the next 40 years and seeing how that impacts the people around me. And it's not just for me, right? But it's also like, what kind of kids, like my kid, I think about kids a lot, obviously, because I'm a mom, but like my children seeing me living this life versus the life I was living before, which was, again, like doing the bare minimum and doing what was expected of me. Like doing what I do now is going to inspire my kids to take care of themselves when they're older. And that impacts me more than anything. Like knowing that mom's putting her health first. She's putting her passions first. She's putting her heart before money. She's doing all these things that like, that gives them permission. That gives the next generation, whether or not you've made children yet, right? Think about it, the next generation and the people that you impact, or even like we have so many teachers on this team, right? The kids that are in your life that you're impacting, that gives them the permission, you guys, to also put their health first, to make sure that they like them first before they go out into the world trying to seek approval from other people, right? Which ultimately really doesn't matter when you get down to it. So anyway, I thought that was awesome. Thank you for sharing, Rose. Yeah, I like that. I like me. We all like me. Ourselves, not me, but this is so good. Okay. Anyway, you guys are awesome. I'm going to cut it off now, even though we could talk for like hours and hours, but you guys are amazing. Be sure, I am posting updates just so you guys know, since you're all the leaders on the team, I want you guys to be in the loop. I'm posting the call information for the next week on Fridays, but I decided like I want to have the info on the page, but it seems kind of weird to tag everybody on a Friday for like the next week's call, because I feel like people missed it last week, the tags and such. So we're kind of playing around right with having these calls on Tuesdays now. But my plan is on Sunday nights to tag all of my people in the call information. So if you guys all want to do the same thing, and keep in mind, even if you don't have people on your team to tag yet that you think would want to join these calls, we are gearing these calls towards like discount coaches, community members, right? These are very helpful, like lifestyle calls. So you can tag pretty much anyone you know. And even if you know no one and you don't want to tag anyone, put your celebration GIFs in there. Lauren is awesome at this. She always does like Liz Lemon, and I'm like totally feeling it because I love Liz Lemon. But like whoever or whatever you want to post, like blow up those calls, you guys, because the more we get people involved in this community, right, just like we were just talking about, these are the feel-good vibes that we want to pay forward. Whether or not anybody ever decides to build doesn't really matter to me, but we want people to feel empowered and valued, and learn the things that we're learning in personal development too. So as much as we can pay those forward on Tuesday nights, I think that's awesome. Even if you can't make the call, do a little GIF if you're going to watch the recording, or even if you just want to send your positive vibes, that's good too. So anyway, that's all I have for today. You guys are awesome. I hope you have an awesome Saturday, and we will definitely talk soon. Bye. I'll post a recording here too. Yay. Bye.